good afternoon to everyone on the webinar organized by FORE. And a very good morning to you, Rohit. You're joining us from Germany. We already have a good many number of attendees. I can still see the numbers increasing. We are almost touching 150. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to this industry webinar. We have students as attendees. A warm welcome to all the students from the first year as well as the second year. We have faculty members across all the functional areas as attendees in this webinar. Very warm welcome to all my esteemed colleagues. We have the director himself as a panelist on this webinar. Thank you for sparing the time, sir. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Das. And
thank you.
Most of all, we have our esteemed speaker and our alum, Mr. Rohit Sodha. A very warm welcome to you, Rohit. It's an absolute honor to have you here. I would now request Dr. Das, our director, to invite Rohit to speak. Dr. Das, over to you, please.
Thank you, Professor Rajneesh. This is just a formal. It's actually wonderful to have Rohit as our key panelist in this webinar, especially in this current environment where the physical movement is highly restricted. So, Rohit, your being with us and sharing your views with our students particularly would definitely give a fresh breath to our understanding of how things are being done outside India. We have had webinars with a lot of professors and executives from the Indian space. Your views would definitely be very handy for our students to broaden their understanding. And we are actually very delighted to welcome you for this webinar for our students and for the faculty.
So first, I'd like to give a broad introduction of who I am. I'm currently Managing Director for Germany at Bunzl PLC. I started my career at McKinsey Knowledge Center, which was a campus placement. Then I spent 8-9 years at DHL in multiple positions and multiple locations, a large chunk of it at the headquarters in Bonn in Germany. I left DHL to move back to India and joined Snapdeal to run their logistics function in the year 2014 and 15. And I got called up by one of my ex-bosses at DHL who had moved to Amazon to run Amazon's supply chain in Germany. And I will talk about my experiences at Amazon and what I think budding students can do to improve their placement chances at Amazon, but also be more successful once you've joined Amazon. I dabbled with my own startup, a tech-based international trading company, which we scaled up and then sold over after a Series B funding. And I joined Bunzl last year in December as Managing Director for Germany. We have 4 independent operating businesses in Germany. Each one has their own Managing Director, and I'm responsible for the overall performance of the business in Germany. Regards to my education, I went to DPS Arkipuram, batch of 99 in Delhi, one of the leading schools of our times. Great quality of education, great quality of teachers and students. I joined then Indraprastha University to do my BTech batch of 2003, after which I joined FORE. I left FORE in 2005. And in the year 2017, I went to Harvard Business School to do the general management program. I think what you will probably notice is that I have had a 15-year stint with international companies as well as local companies, startups, as well as large-scale companies in multiple functional areas. And I firmly believe that for us to be able to be competitive, it is important that we are always learning new things and enhancing our skills. On the personal side, I am passionate about sustainability. I do believe that we have to find a way of economic growth that is in harmony with the larger world around us. Climate change and wildlife conservation, especially big cats. I come from Rajasthan, which is home to some of India's big cats, and I'm proud to say that some of my family members are also involved in those conservation efforts. Finally, the interesting and unexpected thing about me is that I actually wrote my first book on the topic, which is very close to my heart. The book is titled Happiness to the Power of Infinity. The book was launched last year in April, and I will talk about it in due course. It basically is a guide for people who have a high need for achievement and are perpetually unhappy. So this book gives them practical advice on how happiness can boost their success and can be a key ingredient of success. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram on Rohit_Sodha_81 and on Facebook at Rohit.Sodha.1. I look forward to being in touch with you, and let's move to the next slide. I assume there's a 15-minute slot at the end reserved for questions.
Yes, please.
I'd like to give an overview of what Bunzl is. It's not a company that is a B2C company and therefore not as well known as McDonald's or Amazon or Flipkart. We are a worldwide B2B distribution company, 9 billion pounds in revenue last year. Our products are a wide range of non-food consumables that we provide to a large range of customers, business customers. We source our products from brand manufacturers like 3M and so on. We also develop our own brands, and we do provide unbranded products. We have operations in 30 countries, around 5 continents, more than 16,000 employees. And because we are largely a trading company, we do not have our own manufacturing units. So for example, in the current context of COVID, we are sourcing a large number of PPE equipment through our production partners, which we are providing to government institutions, police forces, hospitals, etc., and aligning our business along those lines. On the financials, we are listed on the London Stock Exchange, part of the FTSE 100 in the support services sector, and our stock is one of the stocks which is considered to be a very stable stock because we are part of the core consumption of an economy. Every time you go out and buy groceries, you're consuming our products. Every time you go out to a restaurant or hotel, you're consuming our products. And we are very well entrenched in the economy of most developed countries. Our business model, like I said, we are essentially a trading company. We source a wide range of products. So more than 850,000 different kinds of products from global suppliers around the world, including commodity products like forks, knives, paper cups, etc., tissue paper, and we have our own brands. We consolidate these products in our warehouses, and then we distribute these products to our B2B consumers. And our consumers are essentially companies in the areas of food service. Examples include McDonald's, Burger King, KFC. They are in grocery. Examples are Walmart, Tesco, other grocery large companies. Cleaning and hygiene. So we supply the chemicals needed for the cleaners, large industrial cleaners. Retail. We provide bags, carry bags, etc. to companies who are operating the retail space, like Adidas, Nike, and so on. We provide safety equipment to industrial companies, production sites. So this includes everything from helmets to safety footwear to safety gloves, overalls, etc. And finally, healthcare. We are providers of consumables in the healthcare space, which includes disinfectants and also other medical consumable products. So essentially, if you are a large business, we are a one-stop shop for you to outsource your entire spend. And that's our core business model. Moving on to our global regions, our North America region is the largest, with Walmart as a very big customer. It gives us about 60% revenue and 50% operating profit. I'm part of the continental European region as country manager for Germany. UK and Ireland was our home country where we started the business 166 years ago as a small trading company. And we are now making a small foray into the developing world, so to speak, in Latin America, Australasia, and China. China, for us, is a very large sourcing country, but commercially is not a very large revenue driving country yet, but we do expect to make that big. I'm anticipating the question, what do we do from India and in India? So we do source some products from India currently. These products include sustainable packaging products made from sugarcane, molasses, or from jute. We also source some workwear from textile factories. We do not have a commercial organization in India yet, and we intend to, of course, enter India in a few years when the economic climate improves. What's our revenue split by customer markets? So food service, grocery are our largest segments. Food service includes hotels, restaurants, and catering companies. Grocery, we all know, cleaning and hygiene. And then we have smaller businesses in healthcare and retail. And this split varies by country. In some countries, we are much stronger on healthcare. In some other countries, we are weaker on healthcare. But 75% of our business, as you can see, is very resilient. We are not in the fashion business where suddenly demand dies or you go out of fashion. We are not in the high-tech business where you have to launch a new Samsung phone every year. And therefore, our business is counted amongst the top 20 most resilient businesses in the world. The other interesting thing about Bunzl is that our growth model is a mix of organic growth as well as acquisitions. We make more than 15 acquisitions every year. And on this chart, I just show a flavor of the acquisitions in the PPE space over the last 18 years. We tend to buy successful owner-driven companies, which are medium-sized, very much like a private equity company. The only exception is that we do not sell the company after we buy it. We increase the performance of the company, we bring in best management practices, and we retain the company forever. We also do not hard integrate the company into our operating model. We allow the entrepreneur to keep his entrepreneurial spirit and continue to develop the business, leveraging certain best practices in purchase, technology, and sales from the Bunzl holding company. Okay, we'll move on. We source the following products. So we have certain preferred suppliers like 3M, Honeywell, Ecolab, Uvex, Kimberly-Clark, and you would probably know these names by seeing their tissue papers in airports around the world, or the PPE products, which have now become very popular after COVID. But we are their preferred sales partner. Plus, we also source our own products from manufacturers, and then we create our own brands. So for example, OXA safety products you see on the right side is our leading brand for PPE equipment. In the Netherlands, we have about a 25% market share. Red Brick is a brand of safety shoes, and again, a market leader in its market. And we have a mix of A brand products and our own brand products to cater to a wide variety of customers. Moving on to Germany, we have 4 businesses in Germany. Like I said, we are a holding company with operating entities which operate differently and independently. The first company we have is Bunzl Packaging. It services hotels, restaurants, and catering. So when you visit a Marriott or a Sheraton in Germany, the in-room cosmetics and the in-room facilities you have, many of them are provided by us. We are in the B2B space, and some indicative customers include Marriott, McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, Lufthansa. Typically, why would a McDonald's work with us? Because we provide the end-to-end solution. When you go to a McDonald's and let's say you order a coffee and a muffin at the McCafe, the glass, the saucer, the spoon, and the packaging paper, everything comes from us, also the tray. Why would a McDonald's order from us and not buy these products separately? because they tell us that we are opening a new store with a format X. We know that a format X store needs X amount of cleaning equipment, X number of trays, X amount of tissue paper and other products, and we bundle it all together and we deliver it in a single truck so that that store can launch and then operate on an ongoing basis. That's our operating model, and that is how customers choose to work with us. The second business we have in Germany is Bäumer, cleaning and hygiene. We provide cleaning and hygiene products, which include disinfection to the B2B sector, and our customers include food processing units who have a very, very high level of hygiene requirements by the government. Our customers include the police forces, court buildings, old age homes, and we provide a wide variety of products ranging from cleaning to food consumables, etc. The third business we have is IML. It is a B2C healthcare business where we provide healthcare consumables to senior citizens, largely citizens with incontinence issues or other medical conditions. The way the system works here in Germany and in most developed countries is you go to a doctor, the doctor issues your prescription, and you take that prescription, you go to your medical insurance provider. The insurance provider has certain companies on panel to provide those specific products. You ask those companies, and those companies deliver those products to your home, and the companies don't get money from the consumer, but the companies get money from the insurance provider. So it is a classical B2B2C selling model, where on the one hand, we need to manage contracts with insurance providers, and on the other hand, we need to have a direct access to consumers. And our typical consumer profile is senior citizens or people who have underlying medical conditions. The last business we have is Clocker. It is a workwear PPE business, and we provide B2B and B2C solutions to construction companies, industrial companies, and staffing companies. So typically, if you are a construction worker in Germany, you are obliged by law to wear proper safety equipment, and we provide that equipment to you. And if you're a staffing company who's providing, let's say, a troop of 100 people to a construction site, all of them need a helmet, safety shoes, safety gloves, safety overalls. You approach a company like us, and we will provide you with all of that equipment. So these are the 4 businesses we have in Germany, and 3 of the 4 businesses are declared as essential services, and we were operating with a 100% capacity even through the entire COVID crisis. So COVID has shaken us all up from our roots. I think it is absolutely unprecedented. Humanity has had no similar experience. If you look back at some of the old crises, we had world wars, which was primarily a man-made disaster. And humanity has had a long history of wars, localized and international. So it is known what impact a war will cause on the economy of the countries where it is happening. We had the dot-com bubble, which impacted the tech sector, but there was no public health impact. The 2009 financial crisis also did not have a public health impact. It impacted, let's say, the financial sector, the construction sector, and white-collar jobs and the economy, but at least people were not scared of death. Spanish flu happened 100 years ago. It was limited geographically, and also mobility in those days was not like mobility we have today, where you can catch a flight and be in another part of the world in 6 hours. So therefore, the global impact at the time was limited. The COVID-19 crisis is an absolutely unprecedented one. It's a global health crisis at first, a high mortality rate associated with a virus that spreads or transmits itself very, very easily. And our modern lifestyles, where we are hopping on flights and jumping around countries almost on a weekly basis, leads to the rapid spread of this virus. And we had to create a lockdown, which resulted in an economic crisis to be able to save human lives. And I think you can say that this was the classical black swan event. So people or economists last year were sitting and saying, well, 2020 is going to be a boom year. We expect stock markets to keep booming, etc. But in one Goldman Sachs report, they mentioned that unless there is a black swan event, 2020 will be fine. And unfortunately, the COVID virus turns out to be this black swan event, which was completely unexpected and has led to a lot of unplanned action being taken. Obviously, fundamentals of modern life have been questioned. We are not going out of our homes anymore. We are not meeting friends. We are not going to colleges. We are not going to offices. We have never lived life like that. Even curfews implemented have been less dangerous. At least you don't fear for your life. In Europe, they've actually restricted contact between grandparents and grandchildren to save the older population. And imagine if you were visiting your grandparents in an old age home every weekend, which is the European culture, and you can't do that for 3 months, 4 months. Imagine the impact it has on your mental health. And at the same time, you're always worried about the family's health. So this is a crisis like no other. We are all in this together, and we have to navigate through the crisis. In my next slide, I will talk a bit about the business aspect and the human aspects of this COVID crisis. I think the human aspect first. Of course, our daily lives are completely changed. We're not going to gyms, we're not playing sports, we cannot travel, no office, no school, etc. There is also a lot of uncertainty amongst the working population, also amongst MBA students. Yeah, will I get a summer placement? Will I not get a summer placement? People in jobs are worried. There are large-scale furloughs happening. A furlough is a temporary unemployment in Western countries where the government supports you when you are not being paid by your employer for a shorter duration of time. The government typically pays between 60 and 70% of your salary up to a certain extent. There's constant worrying about loved ones, about friends, and many of us have people in our family or friend circle who have unfortunately contracted the virus. In my companies in Germany, we have had 5 cases so far, which is within the national average. 2 have healed and 3 are currently in self-isolation. Thankfully, there are no life-threatening conditions, and we do expect all 3 employees to make a full recovery, and we are very grateful for that to happen. There is this constant barrage of negative news. Earlier they said, well, people above 65 are at a high risk. Then they said, well, even young people are at risk because they might get hospitalized themselves, but they might also be carriers. And there's a barrage of negative news and depressing articles about the economic situation, etc., that we are all seeing in press and social media. And this leads to an unprecedented mental health issue. Just today morning, the UN said that the world is facing the largest mental health crisis caused by COVID-19. Coming to the business side, businesses have not experienced anything like this. Your revenues, there's a sudden unprecedented decline in revenue. If you're a hotel operator today, in the month of April in Europe, you had a revenue of 0 because none of your rooms were taken up. The path to recovery, we don't know. It is unclear how quickly mobility will open up, how quickly revenue will start to come in, what kind of precautions you have to take to ensure the safety of your guests and of your employees and your customers. All of business is based on the flow of cash. And when that cycle stops, suddenly even the biggest of businesses in the world look very, very vulnerable. And as you might have noticed, a lot of businesses have either signed up for government support or have actually declared bankruptcy because they just cannot manage the cash they need to pay their employees and suppliers, and they've had to file for bankruptcy. This crisis has also exposed the flaws of operating models of many companies. Excuse me. So this crisis has also exposed the operating models of many companies. If you do not today have an agile operating model, you are exposed and you are hit harder than when you have a good digital model. And as a business manager, as a CEO, you're exposed to pressure from all stakeholders. Your shareholders want to know whether they will get paid dividends and what the share price outlook looks like. Your employees are worried about their jobs. They are nervous. They want to know whether you will keep them on board, you will extend the furlough, and what does their career look like. Your suppliers are on the edge because they need their payments and they know that your revenue cycle has been disrupted. And your customers are also on the edge. They are buying different things and they're buying in different ways and they're expecting different payment terms. So a customer who would traditionally give us a 60-day payment period would now ask for a 120-day payment period, saying that there's just no cash in the economy. So classical crisis, bullets flying all around you, and mental health, family, stress, business, it is the perfect storm. What happens in a perfect storm? It is time for a leader to step in and take charge. I think this was one of the greatest moments, I think, in Indian history, also leadership history, where 2011 World Cup, we were down, 3 wickets down. The leader elevated himself and took charge of things and basically delivered a strong victory under a lot of pressure. One of my favorite moments, and I thought it'll be interesting to share it with you. It also merits the question, how do we as leaders respond to the COVID-19 crisis? And I can share with you what we have done at Bunzl and some of the things that we have put in as standard operating practices on a global level. Most of our companies are essential services, serving hospitals, care homes, etc. Even before the crisis started, we provided PPE equipment to all of our employees who have contact with either customers or in the warehouse or a large degree of other social contact. So our warehouse workers wear PPE masks, our drivers wear masks, and our sales staff who are out there always have to wear masks. We made work from home compulsory for all employees who could work from home except the warehouse, etc. We early on put in cleaning and hygiene facilities in the office, in all the buildings we have, all the warehouses we have. In the warehouses, of course, it is difficult to maintain distance when people are always moving. So we separated the shifts and we separated the breakout rooms to ensure that there's lowest possible chance of people coming into close contact with each other. And most importantly, I think we were amongst the earliest companies to fully follow all the government guidelines to save our employees' health and safety. The other thing that we did, and which was, I think, a show of strong leadership, was that we furloughed employees and they received a 67% salary from the government, but we then added on top and gave them a salary of 90% for staying at home. So this way their job is safe. We as a company can leverage the government support that we need to maintain operations, and a 10% salary cut is not as impactful as a 33% salary cut. And you can imagine we are speaking about the bottom of the pyramid here. So we're speaking about warehouse workers, drivers, blue collar workers. And imagine if you're a blue collar worker and 1/3 of your salary is gone, it is a huge impact, and whether you'll be able to put food on your family's table comes into question. So I think this move from us was very welcome by the entire organization. And on top of that, the senior management team me included, we took a voluntary 10% pay cut to show our solidarity to our entire organization. The one thing that we all need in these times is agility. We have to manage the downturn and at the same time be able to benefit from the chance that COVID-19 gives us. So we are, as a company, facing a 70% decline in travel and tourism business. At the same time, we do see a massive upswing in PPE and cleaning business, which is by nature extremely volatile. I think you are all well aware of how difficult it is to source masks and how governments have been fighting to get hold of adequate number of masks for their healthcare professionals and for the people. And we are proud that we have been able to source them and work with governments to be able to bring the essential PPE to the people where it is needed. I think one of the other things that we've done, I think, fairly well is to communicate often. So we have a CEO level call across all of Europe every Monday. We then communicate with our country colleagues the same day, and there is almost on a weekly basis communication that goes out to every single employee, which talks about how the company is doing, how is the overall employee health and safety scenario in the countries, which employees have recovered, how many cases we still have, and overall what the scenario is like. This gives them the comfort that they are being cared for, that people are caring about them and they're not being forgotten. Some of the key achievements for us and for Bunzl during this COVID-19 crisis: we are part of the official task force in many countries. So in the US, we are part of Donald Trump's task force. In the UK, Netherlands, France, Germany, and many others. What does it mean to be a part of the task force? Our procurement professionals are sitting today in government offices, working over weekends and night shifts to actually source this PPE equipment from providers on behalf of the government. We ensure that governments, Air Force planes are flying to these places where these equipment are being manufactured, and those planes are coming back full with PPE equipment which is needed for the essential services. We have delivered more than 1 billion units of PPE equipment to hospitals, police, government organizations, and other essential services. The other aspect of this crisis is that it has accelerated digitization, and for good or bad, most companies have had to adapt to digitizing, and we are seeing this as an opportunity to actually fast track our digitization efforts. And of course, this crisis gives us the chance to acquire new customers. When you get called up by the CEO of a nuclear power plant who cannot operate because his workers do not have masks, and you provide those masks to him, you only earn some small money, but this guy will always recognize you for helping him at his toughest hour. And this is the value that we are trying to bring for our customers by provision of essential equipment. I have a small video here of one of our trucks delivering masks to the German House of Commons, or the Lok Sabha equivalent in Germany. That's what we have done in this fight against COVID, and we are in the middle of the fight, and I think we will continue to work with our customers and government organizations to make sure that we are doing our bit to help humanity navigate through this COVID-19 crisis. Dr. Chauhan asked me to share some of my learnings with students of my experience at Amazon, and I'll be very happy to do that. I had 2 roles at Amazon. One was a classical supply chain role, where I was heading the transportation network for Amazon.de. And back in 2015, when I joined, Amazon.de was the second largest marketplace for Amazon worldwide. We had a network of about 680 million parcels a year, growing at about 20% year over year. Massive, large network. And when you procure logistics services or delivery services from providers like DHL, FedEx, and so on, you're talking about multi-billion-dollar contracts. Every single cent on a parcel negotiated price can make a multi-million euro impact on both companies. The network is obviously ever evolving due to increasing density of delivery, and there's a network design and an operational improvement aspect, of course. And the interesting part was that at the time we launched new services like same-day and scheduled delivery, which were, exciting new services, basically increase speed from the warehouse to the customer and reduces your click-to-deliver cycle, which was traditionally between 1.5 to 3 days to now within half a day. And this is something that consumers have accepted very well. And we do see same-day and scheduled delivery products becoming more and more mainstream as time passes. The next role I had at Amazon was country manager for Amazon's devices in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. It was a classical sales and marketing role where I was supposed to drive not just the online sale, but also partnerships with other offline retailers. So in the Indian equivalent would be, let's say, doing deals with Chroma or with Reliance brands, etc., and other electronics retailers to sell Amazon's products. And you can imagine that Amazon as an online company is not the preferred partner for most offline retail operators who see it as a threat. So that was a very interesting dynamic which we worked through. There's a lot of market research involved on consumer preferences and privacy concerns, etc. Very interesting experience. And of course, finally, stock planning, allocation, promotion performance, how much discount do you give, and what kind of elasticity do you see in demand? And that was a really fantastic role to have. Overall, I think my key learnings at Amazon, which I can share with you, and which I think would also help you in general during your placement process, is number one, I think being data-driven. If you can narrate a story with facts and figures, that story becomes much more powerful than without numbers. Second thing, dream big. I know that in India there is this constant headwind that students from non-IIM institutions face. Don't get limited by those headwinds. You are brave enough, you are competent enough to compete with the best. Dream big and don't limit yourself by your thinking. The third thing I learned from Amazon was focusing on the customer and working backwards. And I'll give the example of the same day product and how we did that. We looked at basically when would the customer need the product. We said between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. And then we worked backwards to design a fulfillment network, saying we will assume connections to 2 fulfillment centers, driving time of 2 hours, picking time of 2 hours per product. Therefore, we need an order cutoff of between 12:30 and 1:30 p.m. And that's how we designed the specific network. Working hard, it goes without saying, Amazon is a company which makes you work very hard. And I think that for great success, you need to put in great efforts. It's a fundamental principle. And I think I can only recommend this to students. The final point I'd say is work for the long-term dream, but deliver today well. So create this balance between strategic thinking as well as delivery of the day-to-day results. And I think then you become a very capable business leader. Finally, I'll take a couple of minutes to talk about my guiding philosophy, which I've also talked about in my book. So I was, of course, like many of you, having a high ambition level, working very hard, and obviously trying to push the boundary of success. Also bring in a good name for my institutions and my family and so on. And happiness was always a topic that that interested me a lot. I read a lot about it, and I then put my thoughts finally in this book. Happiness essentially has two components. One is a temporary feeling of happiness, which you get when you, let's say, eat an ice cream or watch a movie, but it goes away as soon as the ice cream is over. Or the more long-term thoughts of satisfaction, coming from the Greek word eudaimonia, which is a good self. And this is the happiness that you receive when you do the right things, when you lead the right life on a long-term basis. Research suggests that 50% of happiness is in your control, and the other 50% is in your genes. So, well, you can't change your genes, but you can surely control the rest 50%. There are some practical benefits of being happy. Good health is one of them. Happy people live 7 to 10 years longer, have 23% lower stress levels, and are less prone to diseases. In the business, if you keep your employees happy, happy employees are 20% more efficient. Salesmen who are happy sell 37% more and have 31% higher productivity. And stock prices of Fortune 100 best places of work companies rose by 14% compared to 6% for the other companies who are not good places to work. So if you are a business manager who will lead a team, I think your secret weapon can be not just pure pressure to achieve targets, but creating an overall sense of happiness, which will help the team deliver targets themselves. I conclude my book with some tips on happiness. You can read them here on health. You should exercise regularly, eat healthy, sleep well, and give positive reinforcement to your mind. On relationships, I recommend having high quality relationships which you can nurture, which help you become a better person yourself. I think it's important to communicate to your loved ones that you love them. We all assume that they know, but putting your feelings in words can have a very positive impact. And finally, I think all of us have to deal with certain toxic people in our lives. It could be anybody, but I think it's important to find a way to neutralize that impact and reduce this negativity flowing into your life. In terms of career, I think you should pursue what you love and you're good at, rather than running in that rat race. Be honest with yourself. Choose an area where you have a natural knack and an area which will pay you well for the long term. And on a day-to-day basis, I think working long hours is not the answer, except for emergencies. If you are structurally in a job where you have to work 12 hours a day, then you're in the wrong job. Either they do not have adequate employees, they don't have the right practices, etc. But working long hours is not the necessary way to succeed. On finances, I think the Dalai Lama says, give away all your belongings. I say, well, build wealth so you can enjoy life. Finally, I also say that money is not everything. Keep it in your head. Don't let it enter your heart. Use it as a way to improve your quality of life, but don't just start chasing money as the end game. I also recommend to pursue hobbies passionately. I think it brings a tremendous amount of happiness to your lives, and it will increase your long-term performance. And in some other areas, I think if we do good for others, especially the needy, it does good for us. And there are more such tips in the book, which has been endorsed by Harvard professors, authors, editors, corporate CEOs, and many other stalwarts. It's available on Amazon.in. I think we have a 4.7, 4.8 rating out of 5. So I think I would recommend, if you're interested in this topic, go ahead and read the book. And if you have any questions, you can obviously contact me via Instagram or Facebook. And finally, I'd like to share a quote. Happiness is to life what fizz is to soda. If there's soda without fizz, it is not soda, it becomes water. And the same way, life without happiness is like soda without fizz.